welcome everybody to the podcast for February.
Now with new art.
Now with new art.
Yay!
We had new art last time, didn't we?
No, it was no art last time.
Oh, no art. Now with new art! Yay!
Yeah, last time we were still using the old logo, and there was just no art. I took all the characters out because Foxen was changing to Kip. We didn't have anything for Pheonix yet. There was no point in me just putting like the weirdness. So this is the new thing. This is the permanent thing for now, until
we've rebranded.
Yes, until years down the line when we decide to rebrand again.
Yes.
And yes. So, how was this month for everybody else?
Boring.
Boring?
Yeah.
Anything interesting happening in the community? I realized that we never talked about
Canferns.
Yes, Canference, because the month that it went to go and happen, we didn't have everything together, essentially.
That's going to be you guys talking, because I have no idea about that at all. So.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even think we're going to talk about it too much here anyway, because...
Yeah, not over. Like, we didn't go.
Yeah.
From what I heard, it was okay. It set out what it set to do, but it wasn't like a massive thing. It wasn't like when Fernal happens and people are still talking about Fernal for like a week and a half afterwards.
Mm-hmm. I mean, from what I heard, the people who went had a really good time.
Yeah.
Which is, hey, awesome, fantastic. But I didn't actually hear too much.
Yeah, there was no good, but there was also no bad. Gets a nice solid neutral.
Mm. And I think they're looking forward to next year and making it bigger and better than it was before. Maybe we'll get more of that hubbub.
Yeah, they're looking for as far forward as 2019, so they seem to be solid. Or at least, like, very solid in their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I would say, and this is the only thing I'm going to say on it, is from what I heard, they only had one panel room. And for the cost, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, like, from what my ongoing experiences, and I don't have horrifically a lot of experience, but I do have a fair bit, one panel room does not a con make. So hopefully next year they'll work on getting more space for events and panels. But that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
Anyway, continuing.
Pheonix, I was gonna say, Pheonix, what's your con experience like?
Anime North, pretty much. And that's always held at the exact same place every year.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big convention hall, so I've just kind of always been to a big con, I guess.
Yeah, Anime North is pretty big. It's like I capped at like 25,000 people or something like that.
It's fun though. It's we're going this year, so that's a thing we should probably be discussing later on. I'd be like, when I'll be gone type situation.
Yeah.
No, honestly though, I feel like because I have only been to one, I feel like everyone has to start small. So the fact that if it's overpriced, I have no idea. Kind of, they need to get the funds to get bigger. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where the pricing for the lower tiers is comparable, and if you want to go higher, you're purely funding the con at that point. That's your super sponsors and your whatnot. And every fur con has like these higher. Anime North only has one ticket price. Like, they don't have levels.
Yes, they do.
They do?
Weekend versus regular.
No, I mean, like, if you're a sponsor, you pay a different thing than if you're an attendee. There's a different, whole different categories.
I've never even seen sponsor things for Anime North, to be completely honest.
There's a different thing for if you want to get a table in the dealer's den.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a different thing.
That's completely different, but...
Well, no, but I mean, like, there's also a different thing if you're an actual sponsor, too.
I didn't even know they had sponsors.
Yep.
That's strange.
It's not a tab I click on very often since I'm not one, but... I was checking out the first time we ever went to the website, and there's a thing there.
Oh, I've never even noticed that, to be completely honest. Yep. I only saw the attendee price, but like every
I could be wrong, but
yeah, sure but like every FurCon has your basic, and then your sponsor, and then your super sponsor, and then sometimes they have like an even greater ARC sponsor or something.
Yeah.
Anyway. I know I'll be able to talk about it more because it's going to be actually happening next month, but Fernal is next month.
Yes.
You're...
I'm not going, and I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm not going and I'm not sad. And it's not that I have a particular problem with Fernal. It's a great con. It's just, it's not my kind of con.
I am going, and I'm happy.
I wanted it's the only fur con close to me.
Yeah.
And I just every single time I want to go, everyone already has people going with them. And I'm like, fuck. Damn
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there representing BrantFurred, and Kip, Fox and Kip. Kip will be with me. So we're going together along with Echo, who has been a guest on our show a couple of times. Myself, if everything works out, I will be suiting in my brand new fursuit. So that's exciting.
I just realized because I'm not going, we're probably not going to have guest episodes, will we?
No, we won't. Because
Oh.
I'm not lugging all the... Well, first of all, we're not staying on site.
Yeah.
Kip, Echo, and I. We're not staying on site. We're staying ways away, like 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
Because what I don't like about how Fernal worked it is they were like, oh, we don't have an overflow hotel because we just changed venues. And then probably, I don't know, a month or so after I asked, after we had already scrambled looking for a room, they're like, oh, look at our brand new overflow hotel. And I'm like, bitch! So it's one of those things where it's like, yes, I understand you've changed venues, but please have all your ducks in a row before you have things set up. You know what I mean? Because it's frustrating for people like me who now found alternate accommodation, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, by the way, Overflow Hotel just opened up. It's like, but we already have our accommodations. We're going to stick by it because it's cheaper. But still, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're not going to have any guest episodes this year.
Yeah.
We're just going to go out and have fun.
Yeah. Well, you're going to go out.
I'm going to go out and have fun. Me
Me and Chris will just record things without you.
You can totally do that.
Yeah. What we'll most likely do, and this is a very common thing that YouTubers do, is if they're going to go on a vacation or something, they film everything they're going to need for the entirety of the vacation so that it's ready and then set to upload. So nobody will even notice we were gone.
Well, it's only 3 days.
Yeah.
Or 4 days.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, the other thing that I want to put out there is the fact that BrantFurred is hosting a dinner on the 16th, which is the Thursday before the con, for anyone who's going to be in the area early and pre-registering at Firkin on Harbor. And there is a Facebook event, which we will put a link up for. Yes. Just in case anyone is interested, you can just put in the comment, like the description thing.
No, I mean, like, I need a timestamp.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so if you're interested in that, please put yourself as going ASAP so that I can get my reservations all sorted out. It looks like I called the place. Suiting is allowed, so yay. It's just trying to meet some new people, have a dinner out before the con gets started the next day. 7:30. Meet up in the lobby. We'll walk over. Anyway, that was my plug that I wanted to put in.
Yes. My big thing, which I was excited for literally up until about a week ago, is that 3 days after this is going up, so March 3rd is the day the Switch... Ginger. The Switch and Breath of the Wild are dropping. And I was excited until I went to go and pre-order one. And they are sold out literally everywhere. I was told, like, to go to Hamilton to try, and I'm like, there's no point. If BrantFurred, a small city, is sold out, then Hamilton's gonna be fucking done. And everywhere's gonna be done. It's a bad problem in the entire North American market yet again.
Especially with Nintendo.
Yeah, and when it was Amiibo, and it was projected sales were under what we expected, that I was upset, but I was fine. I could understand it in the long run. The problem at this point is now we are on the 4th instance of this happening with Nintendo, specifically in the North American market. There was Amiibos, there was Smash GameCube adapters for the GameCube controllers. Those were short-stocked. Then there was the NES Mini, which was, again, understocked. And now the Switch,
Oh,
which is...
also your new 3DS, not XL.
Yeah, the new 3DS Not XL, which just was never put in the North American market, except for, like, one, which was a Pokemon product, and it sold out literally the day it was announced. But yeah, like, a small town like BrantFurred, we don't have a very big, like, mid-aged community, 20 to 30s. So, but we're still selling out of literally everything the day that anything's going up. That's a massive understocking problem. Like, massive. And projected sales is one thing, but after you have 3 instances of, we need to slightly increase the stock in our second largest market worldwide, you gotta understand when it starts to become a deliberate thing. And I'm kind of pissed.
The thing that I don't understand is, with the Switch and stuff, it's an item that's going out to market. Like, maybe it's just my misunderstanding of it, but I don't understand why you can sell out of a thing that's not even being sold yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, of course, production and everything, but come on, it's not even sold yet. It's not out there. You can't sell out of a thing before it's even, like, marketed.
Yeah. And that was kind of that was the thing that I was thinking about, is like, if you pre-order early enough, in theory, there's your projected sales. This is how many you're going to need. Maybe, you can't manufacture that many that quickly, but Nintendo is one of the largest companies in the world. Why can't they meet that demand? And I thought maybe it was a Japanese thing. Maybe it's something that I don't quite understand. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's as xenophobic. They don't quite understand the North American market. But the problem is Sony is also a Japanese company, and they don't have this problem, despite the PlayStation 2 and whatnot being the best-selling console essentially of all time, with the exception of, I think, there's one above it. But like 132 million PS2s. That's massively out of the water of anything else.
Yeah,
Just Pheonix is sitting there in deep thought.
The thing is if you're selling out of your pre-orders, how do you expect to have anything on the shelf for when it actually gets released and people who didn't pre-order? How are they expecting to get... Like, how can you justify having floor models when people are saying, I want to get this early, like, I want to pay for this now to make sure that I have one, and you can't meet that demand? How do you justify floor models? And how do you justify... Because when the Switch gets released, stores are going to want a display. Someone's going to want something physical there.
A lot of times, floor models are just empty shells, though.
Yeah.
They're just the empty husk of what it's supposed to look like.
From what I've heard, and this is the reason they go to Hamilton, is Hamilton is having a midnight release where you might be able to get a floor model, or like a readily available there. But for here in BrantFurred, I was literally told by any store, or the store that I went to, but any store would give me essentially the same answer, was people are going to be camping at like 5 a.m. to wait patiently for the store to open and be first in line to try to get something that probably won't be there.
Yeah.
And that's obscene. It's at the point where the world doesn't seem to be catching up with the fact that video games are huge right now. Like, huge. It's a market that continues to grow, and the world doesn't seem to
I wouldn't say that, because you can see, like, all these multi-million-dollar companies, schools who are producing video game courses. Like, I wouldn't say that the world isn't catching up, because there's definitely stuff there. There's entire, like, fucking, sorry to go back, but I read an article based off of, the U.S. Secretary for Education, Betsy DeVos. She visited a school and she wrote up a little article or a tweet or something about it, saying, the school that I went to, the teachers are wanting instruction. They want to know what to do. And the school that she visited, which is an elementary grade school, actually went ahead and was like, no, this. But they actually mentioned, and this teacher who runs our video game course. So it's one of those things where it's even trickling down into elementary school video game design and creation and this. So I would not say that the world is not catching up to the fact that video games are a big thing. Video games have been around for a long time, and yes, it's really ramping up in the last 10, 15 years. But I would not say that. That is a false, especially with the argument of games being art.
I think more what I'm trying to say is that they're becoming less and less accessible.
Again, you can't say that. Because video games now are more accessible than ever before.
Yes.
This is just a very specific instance.
No, I'm also referring to we got a PS4 recently.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at owning a PS4, I realized that there's a bunch of like extra little hidden things basically in everything. The cost of living with just a PS4 is obscene because you have to have PlayStation Plus to access things, which is a monthly service that costs an outrageous amount.
You can get it for a year.
You can get it for a year. We just did. But then you have the monthly costs of that. Specific games have monthly costs.
No, actually, they can't do that. They can't double dip you like that. Because the guy played a game, or I did at least, and it was Final Fantasy, I can't remember which one, the multiplayer one, and that's a pay-to-play
14.
type thing. Thank you. But since I have PlayStation Plus, I didn't have to pay for the game because they can't have you double dip in that way. If you don't have PlayStation Plus, you'd have to pay for the game.
Yeah, fair enough. But then games themselves are like over $80 now, where even like last year, like going to go and get, I want to say Pokemon Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, we set aside, it was like $60 because that was the average cost, and now it's jumped essentially another.
Well, you can't. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire is a 3DS game, and you can't say a 3DS game and a PlayStation 4 game on the same level for cost or.
But Sun and Moon was $80, which is the same price as the PS4. That's what I'm getting at, is that the costs of gaming are rapidly increasing, and I can understand higher production values and things.
Isaac, everything is increasing.
I know.
The cost of milk went up.
I know, and I understand, but our ability to live as people is not. At this point, gaming, yes, is more. It's easier to get. It's not like it's a niche product, but it is an expensive product and continues to become more, which means that it becomes less accessible because previously I could get a SNES with 3 games at launch and be perfectly good to go for maybe $100, given inflation and whatnot.
Inflation, it's
and that's acceptable. But it was something that I could do. Now, trying to continue to game, it is not something that a lower income family is very easy to do. It took us forever to be able to get this PS4, and then there were all sorts of additional costs on it.
Yeah.
It was almost $1,000 to get this up and running with 3 games.
I don't understand how the fuck that happened because mine was nowhere near that much at all.
That's the Pro.
I'm pretty sure I have that too.
Yeah, the Pro was $500 plus tax. Each game is $80 plus one was like $60, I think. So that's $80, and $60 plus the controller was $60.
Yeah.
Like
it was a ridiculous.
You didn't have to get it all at once, You could have just spaced it out a little bit. That's kind of on you guys.
But I mean, we are a couple. Assume it's a family of 5. So the standard nuclear 2 parents, 2 children, and a dog. I realized the flaw in my logic there. I was going to say 3 kids because that's how I grew up. But assuming it's that family that now need 4 controllers, they need games that are available for any of those. That's a massive cost for a family.
You're assuming the parents want to play it in that scenario. When really they'd only really need 2 controllers for their 2 kids, because chances are in this day and age, the parents are going to plop the kid in front of the TV and say, play all your entire life away because we don't give a shit about raising you properly. So you're going under the assumption that as parents, if you guys were ever to become parents, which I know is whatever, that you would want 4 controllers to play because you guys like to play games. But the average parent these days could give a rat's ass about it. Well,
yes and no, but the thing is that people our age are parents, and people our age grew up with Game Boy, grew up with SNES.
I know plenty of people our age that have kids, and they still don't play any games at all.
Yeah, and that's their choice of lifestyle. But I'm saying a family that would purchase something like this.
You can't say that. Pheonix
Pheonix
definitely has a big point.
I am conceding that point, but for us, if we had children, the cost immediately
but that's
goes
something that you guys
drastically
would have to budget. You can't just boom, $1,000 at once.
Here's the other thing too: is I saw a thing where someone posted a receipt for, I think it was Donkey Kong Country, like back in the day, adjusted for inflation, that game was like $120.
Yeah.
Just the game. Just that one game, because it had all that extra stuff that because of the processing and this and that. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, games are $80 now. Back then, even though it was 50 or whatever, 50 or 40 or whatever, when you have the inflation, it still works out to be about the same. Gaming has always been an expensive hobby. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. It's a hobby. And I think that's why, as entertainment, it's one of those things where you can get a movie for $29.99, which will give you 2 hours worth of entertainment. Or you can get a game which will give you 30 or 40 hours worth of entertainment, and it's, $80 or $90 or whatever. Plus, with Steam and indie games and everything else, it's one of those things where it's, yes, gaming is expensive, but if you want to game, there's other ways to do it that's not nearly quite as expensive.
I think a lot of the thing as well is for your gaming shortages, which I don't give a shit about because I don't want the Switch, personally. That's why I stayed quiet when you guys were talking about it.
Yeah.
They know they can do that. They are fully aware that if they make it a limited supply, people are going to want it twice as much, and so they're baiting you. And Nintendo knows this, and it's a marketing ploy that lots of things do.
But that's the assumption that we place on them being malicious, and many people do place that as malicious. Many people. Others can accept it. Because what was that? I was talking to Nick actually about it. About essentially
name drop.
Nick is his false name and his YouTube name.
Yeah, I know, but you don't like it when I put out furry names and stuff, but anyway.
Because those are people who aren't YouTubers. If I'm talking about another YouTuber, I'm going to use their YouTube title.
You get mad when she uses the furry names for people?
No, not so much that, but I mean, we don't want to call people out in the community, especially if it's something negative. And this wasn't something negative, and he's also a YouTuber.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. Anyway, I was talking to Nick about the Switch bit, and he essentially understands that it's the predicted costs, and he agrees with me on the point of there's no reason that their predicted should be this low to the point that nobody could get it within like a week of them announcing it.
Unless they've decided to do that specifically.
Again, and that's the malicious intent.
Well, I don't think it's malicious. It's more just probably like they're thinking that in the long run they'll get more bang for their buck if they do it that way, because they'll get more people who want it and be very irritated they don't have it and pay out the roof for it.
It's one of those things where it's a balance, because yes, a company wants to make as much profit as they can off of something, and the more hype, whether it's false or real, that they can drum up for their product, and the more demand, it's all supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
So it's all a balance, because you don't want to turn your customers away by having, it's one of those things where, I know, Isaac, you will get a Switch eventually. You will not purchase a Switch because of the fact that they sold out. So you're a customer that they still have guaranteed, even though you're not getting it right away. It might take you a little longer. You're still going to get one. So it's how many customers can you retain while making up this hype without driving them away to their competitors, and that's a very tricky balance.
I definitely think it's a fine art form that they've kind of almost mastered.
It's true.
They know that Nintendo knows that they have fans that are going to pay fucking billions of dollars just to get one game because it's Nintendo. People are loyal to their companies.
Can I finish my thought? Because I've been interrupted like 4 times trying to make this thought.
That's the whole point of a podcast.
But again, I was talking to Nick about it, and his suggestion is wait for the price drop. But with this artificial low supply, there's never going to be a price drop. They're already under their competitor, and as long as they make it still needable with the artificial low supply, people will always want it for whatever cost that they provide, which is a malicious intent. The bit going back on it, and what I was legitimately thinking about, is this is very against the initial kind of thoughts that Nintendo seemed to be constructed around when Iwata was still alive. Because the main thing that he always said is that we are gamers, and that was the important part, not something like that. So, if it is an artificially low and a malicious intent in that we are all under supply in order to essentially constantly sell out, then that is malicious and against their initial
don't
business plans and how they used to view things.
I don't really think it's malicious. It's just they're a business first and foremost. It's kind of just a business tactic. I've seen my place of work do it countless times.
It's
But I don't think it's malicious.
it's
That's
an
kinda-
underhanded
kind of
business
I
tactic.
mean, if people know what happens and they are already aware of it, it's not really kind of like a dick move if people already expect it to happen and
Yeah.
are still willing to throw the money at them.
But it shouldn't hit that point. That's when it becomes not a good thing for any party.
Here's the thing about it. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's definitely not, because I think if you're pre-ordering something, you shouldn't sell out. There should be no sell out
I agree.
of a pre-order thing.
Yeah.
Because that just shows that every single unit you have produced is going to a pre-order person.
Yeah.
And there is no chance of anyone who did not pre-order getting this thing within like a reasonable amount of time after the launch.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. That's not right. So I do think that if anyone decides, hey, I want to put money on this before I can actually see what's going on promises alone, what they've said is going to come out, I want to take the gamble and I want to give them my money, I think that they should be able to do that. But I'm not a person at Nintendo. I don't know the logistics of it. That's just my opinion. And ultimately, that's all this really is all of our opinions, because we don't work in that industry. We don't know how it actually goes. Maybe there is a supply issue. Maybe it's not artificial. Who knows? We can't say for certain.
Except the European market proves that wrong. The European market is overstocked on everything that we've had problems with the exception of the NES Mini, from what I understand.
But that might just be, like, there's been times where my place of work, the North American sanction, is understocked of, like, a lot of stuff, and we can't produce what we need to, but the European ones can, because they just have a bigger facility. So they just have more resources to not run out. So maybe it has something to do with that. Maybe just Nintendo America is just a smaller thing compared to the European
And you
thing.
you have to also bring in Australia and stuff, where they won't get stuff at the same time that everyone else does. They get their stuff like way out, like weeks later, because of this type of reasoning.
The counter to that, though, is President of America Reggie, who runs the American branch, consistently has thrown these problems to it being the Japanese market, because they have to take their orders from the Japanese in the long run. The other bit, and the reason why the European market is overstocked, is because Nintendo has never been big in Europe. It failed next to the Sega, and Europe still tended to do a lot of, like, Commodore 64, a lot of the PC style
So
games.
why don't they just take all the stuff they have that's overstock in Europe, not like country lock it or whatever that thing's called, and then just like freaking translate everything back over to whatever and put it to the countries that need it?
Because region locking is a thing to prevent that.
Region locking
They
is
could
a
just
thing.
take it out. Their stuff.
Region locking is a thing, and there's also different like AC adapters and stuff, so they'd have to like rehaul the electronics.
Well, if that's what you need to do, then that's what you need to do.
I'm gonna say, but though, my very first like Mario stuff was in Germany. That's where I played it first on an SNES.
Yeah, but
So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, because that's my first experience with Mario was in Germany.
Yeah. What I mean, though, the NES was technically a failure in Europe.
Yeah.
Like, it did not sell well at all. If you had it, it was interesting. But it didn't, no one cared.
Here's what I have to say about it. When you have a mascot in Mario that is more readily recognizable than, like, Jesus in most of the world, you gotta step up with your production, especially if you're getting interest.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you have to. And
that brings me back to my first bit, is that with the Amiibo, that was fine. It could have been an issue with the Smash, because it was the same time as Amiibo, it also could have been fine. But when the NES 30 happened, then it starts to become questionable, and now the Switch with Breath of the Wild, both of them being under, That's where the problem starts.
You couldn't get Breath of the Wild?
I couldn't get any off the
How
shelf,
many-
same as I would get for a download Breath of the Wild.
How many stores did you talk to?
The two major ones that do here, and both of them told me to go to another city to try.
It's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, I did Walmart, which is fucking Walmart,
Oh, why even?
because EB Games wouldn't, or wasn't able to, and Microplay was sold out the day of.
Yeah, you don't go.
I'm just saying that those are the three major places you can get games in this city, and all of them were sold out basically day of. Best Buy was done online long ago.
You can get games at Best Buy. We used to have a Future Shop.
Yeah, but I mean
Okay.
online
Yeah.
they were already gone. Like the minute it was dropped. The only places that were still available, even in the States, after like a week, were like Amazon, and even then they were gone basically the next few weeks.
Yeah, like we were a little bit late on it just because of personal stuff.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where,
Yeah.
if you didn't jump on it right away, good luck.
Yeah, and that is a major problem.
Like, I think I have friends who tried to jump on it right away and they didn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I know at least one of my friends on Facebook who's very in the know on this kind of stuff, and she was like, I want it right away. As soon as it was released, she's like, I'm getting that. And when she tried to get, like, on the first day, she's like, well, they're all sold out of black ones, which is the one that I wanted.
The other bit, and this is going to be the last bit before the end of the podcast because we're actually running a little over right now, is there's a weird disparity between when something is announced and when stores will actually start the pre-ordering for it. And the stores are under no obligation to tell you. And from what I understand, certain stores in other cities actually demanded that you purchased a different product before being able to pre-order them.
What?
Yeah. It was EBs in, I want to say, Hamilton or Kitchener. Essentially, your customer number and your wanting to make a purchase determined whether you were allowed to pre-order or not. Because they were that understocked.
I'm glad that.
Okay, that is some bullshit on
We've
EB's
never
side.
had that problem in this town for that.
Yeah.
Every time I've tried to pre-order something, which has been like once, they've been really nice about it.
Yeah. The last like 4 Nintendo things though, I haven't been able to get a pre-order. The last 4 Nintendo things I've actually wanted, whether I've had money or not, I have not been able to get because they are sold out almost instantly in a small town like Brantford. And we're growing very quickly according to statistics, but we're not Toronto. We're not London. We don't have a large community of...
Oh, we're going though, because a lot of the college kids are coming down and living here because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So it's definitely gonna go.
It is going up, but
Yeah, I'm not happy about it.
even a small community is selling out. Anyway, though, that's my bit. That took up a lot longer than I intended because we ended up going on like 40 different tangents about it.
That's fine.
So that will be it for this is February.
So we'll see you all again in March, and hopefully I will see you people at Vernal Equinox.
Yes.
And,
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
See ya.